Hi everyone, this is Adrian.
And I'm Carrie.
And for this episode of the Scent Library, we are going to talk about Creed Aventus and all the clones and twists that has been inspired because of it. Yes.
Yep.
So, tell us more about Creed Aventus.
Okay, Creed Aventus hit the market in about 2010. And when Creed brought this on the market, it was thought to be their sort of foray into setting the bar for a men's scent for the next decade. Chanel had come out with Bleu de Chanel, which had really kind of set the bar for men's fragrances up to then. This one took a different tack. Instead of like copying the blue DNA, they decided to look at men's fragrances from the past and take certain elements out of it that were kind of classic, but move away from the barber shop sort of chiffre sort of a fragrance and go in a whole new direction. This one has some really signature notes in it that hadn't been widely used up until then that they featured, like pineapple
And birch.
And they made that sort of a signature of this, but they took this in a way that really went against some of the grain of what was popular at the time. And this came out to be sort of the sought after fragrance by people that wanted to go in a new direction. It's youthful without being, just for the under 25 something crowd.
Yeah.
But it also has a sort of a classy sort of a vibe to it that, just about any guy can wear, from younger to more mature.
Yeah.
So the key notes in this are, of course, pineapple. And then a smoky birch. And then there's green apple, bergamot, and black currant. Those make up probably the mainstay of what most people get from this and most people remember from it.
Yes, it's sweet and smoky.
Yep. There's also things in it that you don't necessarily smell them individually, but they are very good supporting notes and they help sort of keep the rest of things balanced. And that would be like ambergris, jasmine, white musk, patchouli, rose, and vanilla.
Yeah, the ambergris makes it like a sea salt kind of scent, you know, a little marine-like.
Right. Now, the other important thing to know about Creed and Creed Aventus is what?
How expensive it is.
It's really expensive.
And so that's why it has clones and twists of itself.
Right. So one bottle of Creed at a department store retail price is probably going to set you back a car payment.
Yes, definitely.
Maybe not like a Lamborghini payment, but definitely, a Camry payment or something. So you got to choose carefully if you want to venture into this. If you know that you absolutely love this one and you've got the budget for it, go ahead. You have to be very careful about trying to buy this where you see you're getting an incredible deal because there are copies of this out there that are not the real thing.
Oh yeah.
The bottle's pretty easy to copy and stuff. So in the box is pretty easy to copy. So if you get it through
eBay,
unreputable chains, you probably are getting a fake. Only go through places like online that are big companies and that are highly reputable because they kind of protect their supply lines of it. About the best I've ever seen is somewhere between 65, maybe 70% of the retail price is about the lowest you can get it at a discount. So keep your eyes on some of the discounters and stuff like Fragrance Net, Fragrance by Canada, and Joma Shop, especially Joma Shop. They carry some Creed now and then that you can get at a decent price, but you have to be quick because their supply usually goes within 48 hours of them putting it online.
What I can say though is that if you have a really good clone of it, nobody can notice.
Right.
It's not Creed Aventus, it's actually a clone, and
Yeah, you may notice it going from side by side, smelling the two. You may notice subtle differences that go, oh no, I can tell the difference. But if somebody walked into, two different people walked into the room, both wearing, one of them wearing Creed, one of them wearing one of the better clones, you will have a hard time telling which is which.
Yes.
So that's what we're going to talk about first. And we're going to divide this up into clones that have exactly the same note breakdown, and then others that are like inspirations or twists.
Okay.
Okay.
So, to start it off,
this one is note per note, exactly the same notes as Aventus. This is Afnan Supremacy Silver.
Yes.
Be careful when you're looking for this to order it, because there's two Afnan Supremacies. The silver is the one that's the exact Aventus breakdown. The other one is a little different. This one has the same note breakdown. The thing I notice about this one is the birch or the smokiness is a little bit less. It's maybe a little bit more floral, but not in a big time floral sort of a way. But the performance is probably better than most of the modern batches of Creed. People sometimes go on about how the old ones were so much better, but there's not many old batches around now to compare it to. And so unless you can spend $800 on eBay and hope you're actually getting something real instead of a fake, then I wouldn't bother with trying to go that route, because it's not that noticeable. This one really, really does the trick, smelling the same, and the price on it is pretty amazing. The performance is good, the projection is good. You can't go wrong with this one.
Yeah, and you don't need to spend a car payment for this one. And hardly anyone, and even I think the most seasoned aficionado of fragrances will have a really hard time distinguishing this between this one and Creed Aventus.
Right. Smelling any of these fragrances we're going to talk about on paper smell different than smelling it on skin once it's dried down a little bit. Several of the notes in these really develop with the heat of your skin and your body oils and stuff. So smelling them on paper is a little hard to compare them from one to the other as far as how they're really going to do in the real world. This one, when I put it on one hand and then on the other and let people smell it later, they really can't tell the difference.
Yes.
So I would definitely say if you want a ironclad good clone of this one is probably your bet, and you will save a lot of money by going with this.
Yes.
Okay,
next one.
This is a very little known house I'd like to kind of give a shout out to. It's called Oak Cha.
Okay. And it's called Ineffable.
Ineffable, okay. This house kind of made its way by doing really, really good clones in a perfume extract strength. All their bottles look like this. They're pretty unassuming. They don't spend a ton of money on the bottling and stuff like that. If you look up Oak Cha online, they have a huge selection of things. All of them are perfume extract strength, and all of them are pretty reasonable prices, and then they go on sale now and then. This one is an exact note per note breakdown, but you would notice if you sprayed them like both on skin and smelled them a few minutes later, a little bit of a difference in how they project. This one is a perfume extract strength. The Creed Aventus is a perfume strength, maybe even a little bit more towards the lower end, towards almost an eau de toilette sort of a strength. They don't say exactly what strength it is, but the Creed projects a little bit more than this one, but this one lasts a lot longer. So it lingers on clothing, it lingers on your skin and stuff, but it stays a little bit closer, but it leaves more of a scent trail. It just doesn't project as much. This one, the main thing that I noticed the difference in this one is that the birch is not as smoky. It's a little bit more woody smelling.
Okay.
So a very, very good pickup if you want something like, if you have this one, you spray it on, and then you also use maybe one of the other to keep it going for the whole day, but then use one of the others that's a little bit of a louder projector to layer over the top of it. You get about the same thing, but some difference in the projection of the notes.
Okay.
Okay.
Next
Now,
one.
this one is probably the best known of all the Creed Aventus clones. This is
Club
in
de
a
Nuit.
very beautiful bottle, I might say,
Club de Nuit Intense Man.
by Armoff.
Yes.
Okay. As tacky as the bottle is and stuff, the fragrance on the inside is really what matters. And this one is inexpensive, and I think it's actually one of the best, if not the best, of the Creed Aventus clones.
Okay.
And here's my reason why. Even though there's one note that it swaps out with the note breakdown of Aventus, they add in lemon and leave out the oak moss.
Okay.
I think that this one performs like crazy.
Okay.
It lasts a long time, and the character of how the different notes project and stuff is pretty much exact.
Yeah.
If you had to really choose what would be the best thing to wear if you really wanted to pull off Aventus, but you just didn't want to miss your car payment that month, this is your choice.
Yes.
You won't find this in most stores unless you go to, like, say, a fragrance outlet or something like that. You might find them there, but you find them online in some of the discounters like Fragrance Net, Joma Shop, Fragrance by Canada. These are some places you can get it, and this is a huge bottle. This, I think, is a 150 ml bottle, and it was probably maybe $50 or $60.
Oh wow.
Yeah, you got a long time supply there. You can bathe in it pretty much every day for
and
6
smell
months.
like Aventus.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone's gonna notice except if you just sprayed it initially.
Right. Here's one thing. You'll hear people talk about this, and it's kind of true, but let me tell you what the real deal is with it. You'll hear people complain about, oh, this one has this terrible lemony note when it opens up. It smells like Lemon Pledge. First of all, it only has that smell for about 2 minutes, and then the sort of overwhelming lemon note goes away. And people gripe about it smelling like Lemon Pledge or something. It's a synthetic lemon that the first few minutes of it are a little bit sort of pungent. But after like 2 to 5 minutes, that fades away, and then you're left with almost a better version of what Creed Aventus is.
Oh wow.
And it projects well, it lasts well. I've worn this one, after I've worn the other one. Like, one day I wear the Creed, and then one day I wore this one. And a person came up to me and was like, I really like the cologne you've been wearing and stuff, but it smells better today. Like, I can smell it a lot better. Maybe my nose is just working better. And I'm like, no, maybe actually the fragrance is working better. So
the cologne is actually better.
take that for what you will. Something that, the Creed is probably close to 8 or 9 times the price of this, and this performs better and smells the same.
Wow.
Okay,
next up.
now we're moving into more of a twist sort of a territory. These don't have all the same notes. They have a lot of the same signature notes that people would remember, but not necessarily the exact same breakdown. This is Mont Blanc Explorer. This one's been out for several years. This was kind of an early one on, maybe the one that came out after Club de Nuit, Intense Man. This one has only a few of the same notes that are in the Aventus. It has ambroxan, bergamot, patchouli. Ambroxan is not in Aventus, but the ambroxan kind of works like the ambergris does. But it has some other notes that probably substitute for notes in Aventus, and they just do a little bit of a different way that they put them together to perform. This has a Kigala wood, which probably substitutes for the birch. It has clary sage, leather, pepper, vetiver, cacao, and all of these things add together to give you a similar sort of a experience to the Aventus, but not necessarily the same. I would really not call this one a clone, although it does put you in mind when you smell it of like, oh, is that Aventus? Because it has a similar character. No, if you smell the two side by side, I think they're fairly different. It's pretty easy to tell you're not smelling the same thing, but it has a similar character to it.
Yeah.
And this one is available at pretty reasonable prices. Mont Blanc line is affordable, but definitely not a bargain type of a fragrance and stuff. So you know you're paying for some quality there. It's pretty good.
Okay. So next up,
now we're going to go to another Middle Eastern one, Al Haramain.
House of Al Haramain.
Yep.
And it's called Le Aventure.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it smells like if Creed Aventus and Cedra Bois had a baby, this would be it. Because it's strong on the lemon drop scent.
Yeah, I definitely will agree with that. It has lemon as one of the notes. And the lemon and bergamot kind of come forward instead of the pineapple. It does not have the pineapple note to it. It has what's called woody notes, which very well could be birch or whatever.
I think instead of birch, they used elemi. You know.
Oh, they do have elemi in
yeah,
it. That's one of the notes that they claim.
Yes, and I think elemi is the one that's gives it like the smoky
could be, yeah.
Attribute. Yeah. So
yeah, this one has amber, elemi, bergamot, jasmine, lemon, lily of the valley, musk, patchouli, and woody notes. So if you look at all of those, it builds on a similar character of how Aventus is built, but it uses mostly different notes, except for a few here and there that are maybe characteristic, but certainly not the notes that everybody immediately names off of Aventus. This one is a really nice one. It has a great performance to it and stuff. You can't go wrong with this one. You know, even if you aren't buying this to try to be a clone of Aventus, you're getting a really nice scent with this one.
Yeah, it's a good buy.
Yeah,
if you ask me. Okay, next up.
All right, this one is a little known Creed twist or Aventus twist.
It's called America by
Perry
Ellis.
Yeah.
So
it's an interesting bottle. It's square with this kind of a plastic cage built around it and stuff. It's pretty recognizable. Perry Ellis isn't a huge brand that you think of lots of different fragrances that they have. They were around a long time ago and had several things out, but they've sort of calmed down on their releases, or I should say slowed down. But this one is a really nice one. I don't think that they were really trying to copy Aventus, but they were trying to get their foot in the door on a type of a fragrance that sells well like this. So this one does have pineapple, rose, bergamot, and birch, which are definitely some of the the anchor notes of Creed Aventus.
But this one is rosier. Yes, it's more floral than Creed Aventus.
Yeah, this one definitely has a little bit more of a floral forward sort of a note, but not in a real feminine sort of a way. No. Just fresh and definitely sort of an airy smell. Not great performance on it, maybe about 4 hour or so performance before it starts to fade away a little bit. But, you can either spray on a little bit more or something like that if it starts to fade, or just spray heavy to begin with.
Just put it in your purse because it's actually affordable.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't fit in there very well. It's kind of a big clunky bottle, but, you could decant some of it.
Yeah. I don't even waste a decanter. Just bring the entire bottle with you.
For the price, you can probably, I think you can get a smaller version of this if you wanted to take something like that along. But honestly, it's a nice fragrance. It's well blended. It comes off nicely. This one really works great during the summertime because in the warmer heat and stuff, the notes really project well without becoming overpowering. So this one definitely is one to think about. It's a nice similar one to Aventus without being a dead-on type of a clone.
Okay.
Okay, now we've got another one that
The
you
last
may
one.
recognize and think, oh, that's the same. No, this one's actually a limited edition Parfum. The other one is not limited edition, and it's an Eau de Toilette.
Okay,
So this is Club de Nuit Intense Man limited edition. So you'd think it's really going to be about the same thing and just being a more concentrated form, but it's not. They actually changed up the notes. There are quite a few things that are different. It has some of the things that you would, definitely want to make it a very Aventus-like fragrance, like pineapple, bergamot, ambergris, patchouli, musk, rose, but it switches up several of the other things and takes it in a little bit of a different direction, like pink and black pepper, lime, lemon, lily of the valley, leather, cedar instead of birch. Just gives it kind of a different characteristic and stuff. I think maybe they just thought it's like, well, let's see if we can actually improve on the Creed DNA. And I don't know if it's an improvement or just difference, but it's really nice.
yeah, and it's affordable too, So, in fact, you were saying all the other bottles that we put in here, like we presented, you can get all of them for the exact price of Creed Aventus.
Yeah, pretty much all the bottles we've shown except the Creed Aventus, if you added them together, you would still have a little bit of money left over than what you would pay for one bottle of Creed Aventus.
Wow. Isn't that
at retail price?
Isn't that insane?
It is, yeah. So if most of these are available at pretty reasonable prices on FragranceNet, Fragrance by Canada, Joma Shop. But if you're dedicated to that, you have the money and you want to spend it on the original Aventus, probably the best price, and I'm not going to mention what their retail price is. People, if you want to do some research, you can just look on Macy's and some things like that to see what the shocking retail price is. About the best you're going to find it at a discount, maybe on Joma Shop, is about 65% of retail, which is a pretty steep discount, but nonetheless, it's still a pretty steep price. I would caution you, don't buy it from places on eBay unless you really feel trusting of it, because there are a lot of fakes out there that are pretty convincing, and you get it and open it up and it smells kind of like that, and it may be one of these that they've actually just rebottled in the fake Creed bottles and stuff. So be careful of your sourcing. Go with big companies and stuff that have a good reputation, that protect their supply lines.
If you really want Creed Aventus.
Right.
But I'd like to say live within your own means.
Yeah.
And stuff. And so nobody can tell really the difference of like a clone and Aventus itself. It's really hard to distinguish, especially if you already sprayed it and 30 minutes has passed, and you walk by someone and they get a whiff and it's like, oh, that smells like Aventus. Yeah, because it smells like Aventus.
Yeah, very sadly, there's a lot of the really expensive fragrances. They've come out with some better cost alternatives to them, and that are very convincing and stuff. And I would just have to say that, the price of a lot of colognes does not come from the ingredients usually, unless it's oud. Certain things, or oud or certain jasmines and stuff, are the expensive part of it. Most of it comes from paying an expensive perfumer to create the formula, and then basically all the marketing, and then they just like Creed, they have a certain price point that they go with, and they try to not let it get to distributors that sell it at lower prices, so that they keep their price margin way up there in the luxury lines.
Okay.
All right.
So I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Scent Library. We'll talk about other fragrances again. Till next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.